Okay, so what I start off first, and this is just going to be a little bit of a mini review as well too. I've been using this product for roughly about a month now, and I decided to use it for that long just to make sure that when I recommended this to you guys, that it was something that I was absolutely certain that I liked, and you know, I love the way that it performed with my skin. This is called the Garnier BB Cream. It's a Skin Renew Miracle Skin Protector. This is what it looks like, and this is in the shade of light medium. Now, I don't know if a lot of you know what BB creams are. BB stands for blemish balm or beauty balm. Obviously, blemish balms would tend to have ingredients to control acne like salicylic acid and stuff like that. But this one would be considered a beauty balm, meaning that there's a lot of different ingredients in here that actually help keep your skin supple and healthy and protected. There is SPF in here. It's an SPF 15, so I usually use this every single day, even if it's just to go pick up my son from school. This is usually what I throw on my face. Anything above SPF 15 is what you generally want to stay with. That's going to give you enough protection so that it prevents you from burning. The other thing that I really love about this, and it seems to be working for me, I mean, I'm completely barefaced at this very point in time, and this actually has vitamin C. Now, vitamin C is an antioxidant, and because of that, what it tends to do is it lightens dark marks like from old acne scarring, any sunspots or age spots that you may now begin to get. This may actually help to lighten that, and I have actually seen that with myself. Looking at previous videos of myself even, I've noticed where some of the marks that were even visible in those videos are no longer visible now. And this is me completely barefaced. Aside from a little bit of redness that I generally have and a few freckles, I mean, all of my old scarring has literally gone away. The other good thing about this product is that it is tinted. There are minerals in here that are tinted, so it's basically exactly like a tinted moisturizer, so you get medium to little coverage from it. What I usually do with this, if I'm going out or if I'm going to meet clients now, this has cleared my skin up so much that I only need to use this. I no longer need foundation. But in the event that I am going to like an event or a meet and greet or something where I really have to wear makeup and look professional, I actually use this underneath my foundation. And previously, regardless of what foundation I've used, I've always broken out. This is the only thing that has never broken me out. And also, since I'm using it under my foundations now, I find that the foundations are no longer giving me the kind of breakouts that I would normally get from it. And I'm assuming it's because this is creating a barrier between this and the actual foundation. So that being said, I'm going to head straight into my face routine, and the first thing I would do is I would apply this, and you need such a tiny amount. And another thing about this is that when you put this on, it literally, it goes on a little bit lighter regardless of the color that you get. You literally need such a tiny amount, and you rub it into the skin the way that you would like a normal night cream or moisturizer. And the good thing about this is it actually has a little bit of a mattification process, where it's not as greasy as you think it's going to be. Now, it does not claim to stay on. It's not a color stay or any kind of product that claims long wear, but it does give very minimal evening out of the skin tone, not so much coverage. So I would normally do that first, and this would take the place of my moisturizer. Now, if my skin is particularly dry, I would go ahead and use an additional moisturizer before applying that, but generally this covers it for me. At this point, what I usually like to do now, normally what I do is I apply eyeshadow first, and then I would go on cleanup and then use my foundation. But in the instances where I don't have the opportunity to do that, what I would usually do is I would leave out my under eye concealer. But for the sake of this video today, I am doing a full face foundation concealer contouring video, so I'm going to go ahead and do that for you guys. Right, so this is, as I said, this is me completely barefaced. What I use, the foundation that I'm currently using for like medium to heavy coverage, this is the MAC Pro Longwear foundation. I like this foundation because it comes with a pump. I am an NC42. Now NC42 tends to be a little bit too dark for me, but the NC40 tends to be a little bit too light. So I would much rather go a little bit darker than to have that kind of an ashy look on my face, particularly when you take pictures. It tends to show up very ashy. So what I would do, I normally apply my concealer first, and the concealers that I use are actually a combination of two concealers. One is the LA Girl Pro Conceal, and this is a high definition concealer. It's very inexpensive. The color of this one is Warm Honey. It tends to be a little bit on the pink side, which I like because pink will kind of help to camouflage any blueness from under eye circles, but by itself it's slightly a bit too dark for me or too close to my skin tone. So what I do is I mix that with a little bit of the L'Oreal Visible Lift, and this is in medium deep, and it's again a liquid concealer that's in a pen foam. And I tend to prefer liquid concealers because I think that they don't crease as much as cream concealers, and I don't really have a lot of major under eye circles, so I need a little bit less coverage than anybody else who may have them. So what I normally do, obviously these are my products, so I apply them directly from the pens onto my skin. But if I'm doing this on a client, then I would obviously use the aid of brushes. So I would go in and dab a little bit right up underneath here. Now I try not to get too very close to the lashes because this has a tendency to stain the lashes, and then obviously when you go and you apply mascara, it may get a little bit loopy or turn the color of the mascara into something else. So I would apply a very light color underneath here, and this both brightens the under eye area and also helps to conceal. And I would come a little bit lower down on the cheek area because this gives a little bit of a highlighting effect, kind of like what Kim Kardashian has. And I would come all the way down here, almost like you want to create like this triangle type shape. So basically that's what you want to do. And then I would come in here and again use a tiny little bit of this reddish tinge concealer, which is going to camouflage that blueness, and put a little bit underneath it. And then what I do, this works really well for dark areas, so like my chin and around the corners of my mouth is usually where I would put that. And then what I use is a fluffy blending brush. This is just a cheap one, but it's very soft, and then I go in and just start blending those out. And some people get dark circles. I have a tendency to get darkness all the way up into here. So I would take my concealer all the way into there. Now what I usually do to get right up into the roots of the lashes without really smudging the concealer up too much, I use a handheld mirror and I would look up. And this allows me to get all the way right up to the lash roots to take care of any of that under eye circle area there. And then I blend the rest of it all the way back towards the hairline. So I have this nice concealed yet highlighted area right underneath the eyes. So again, the same thing on the other side. And I use a motion of that dabbing that applies more product into the areas that I needed, and then I use a little bit of a swiping motion or a blending motion where the product can stand to be a little bit thinner. And I think that using the different techniques like this, it gives you coverage where you need it, and yet still affords you a natural look where you don't really need a lot of heavy coverage. So that's about all the concealing that I have. Now obviously if I have a blemish or something, I would go ahead and conceal that as well too, but because of my little trusty BB cream, I no longer have any of those. Great, so at this point, this is where I would move on to my foundation. And the brush that I use for this is actually a round top kabuki. Now I usually use the Sigma, I think it's the F82 or the F80, I can't quite remember, but it's a round top kabuki like this. Now this is one that I actually bought from a seller on Facebook, and it's actually a $40 brush, but literally it is the exact same shape as the Sigma, if not better. And I find that I've been using this much more than my Sigma, which costs by itself I think close to $200 TT. So I would definitely recommend getting this brush for your liquid foundations. It's absolutely amazing. I will put a link in the bottom bar so that you guys can know exactly where I got these. Right, so what I usually do is I would take like my mist and set or your prep and prime or whatever it is you would use, or just some water in a spray bottle, and I like to dampen the end of the brush just a little bit, just so that I'm not applying my foundation completely dry, because it wastes a lot of product that way. I would do like 1 or 2 pumps at first, which I normally don't need anymore. And then I would stipple it onto the brush and make sure that I get the area of the brush entirely covered like that. And then I would start in one part of the face. Now generally what I do is wherever I need the most coverage, that's where I put the brush down initially, because it's usually where the most product is going to actually be deposited. So I normally need a lot of coverage in the center of my face, because I have freckles and a lot of the darkness that I get usually tends to be there. And then whatever I have remaining on the brush, once those areas are covered, and you want to go over the eyes as well too, once those areas are covered, whatever I have left on the brush is what I'm going to buff on the edges of the face and the perimeter of the face, which is usually where most people don't need a lot of coverage. Most times you find issues with the face or the skin, discoloration, pimples and stuff like that, they generally occur in the center of the face. So that's where you find a lot of people need the most coverage. And again, you want to make sure you get it blended into your hairline. Once a foundation matches you correctly, there is no need to bring the foundation all the way down to the neck. Anytime you find that you have to do that, it means to say that the foundation that you're using is not the correct color. So once the foundation matches you correctly, what I usually do is I bring it just underneath the jawline and use that to sort of fade that out, and that's generally where my foundation will end. And by using a stippling motion like this, you get the most coverage, but yet it's still very natural and airbrush looking. Right, so the very last step that I normally do now, the thing is about it, a lot of people don't realize that when you put foundation on, generally most people would use one shade of foundation, and that's fine. But our faces are not normally one shade. They have a lot of different shades. Usually around lines of indentation you would have a little bit of darkness. Along the jawline you have a little bit of darkness. Parts that protrude you have a little bit of lightness, what we call highlights. And obviously the areas of darkness are usually what we call contour. You need to add this back to your face once you put a foundation on, or else it tends to look very masky, because your skin naturally has these natural variations in tone. So what I normally like to do is I go in with a contouring and a highlighting product, and what I use for that, I've been recently using this this is the MAC Pro Sculpting Cream. You can just simply use a bronzer that is not shimmery. You want to use something that's matte and at least 2 to 3 shades darker than your natural skin tone. You can even use a brown eyeshadow. You don't have to specifically go and buy a product that is labeled contouring, contouring cream or contouring blush. It can literally be a brown eyeshadow. And what I do is I use the exact same brush that I've used with my foundation, because this helps for the product to sort of blend in and not just have like a line of demarcation. And I pick up a little bit of it, and generally the places that I would contour are the cheekbones. And what I do as a general rule, you use where the air meets the body down to the corner of the lips. That's a line in which you want to keep. However, you start here at the base of the hair, at the hairline, and then you bring it down slightly towards the cheek. You should not have any color beyond the fullest part of your cheek. And what this does is it actually adds a little bit of definition there, and it slims the face down, and it also really defines your cheekbones. Now I am applying it with a very heavy hand here, particularly because I do a lot of photographs with these tutorials, and usually your hand has to be a little bit heavier when with products when you do photographs and things like that, because flash usually tends to wash out 40% of the color in the product on the pictures. So the second place that I would normally contour would be underneath my chin. Now I start from behind the ear, and I bring that just underneath that crest of the bone there, and you want to bring it all the way around, and you go again right back to behind the other ear, and you want to blend down towards the neck. and this is going to give you the most natural look possible. But the thing with contouring is you want to be kind of careful with it, because regardless of what you do, it tends to be a little bit noticeable. So you want to use this mainly for like nighttime looks, or if you're going to be heavily photographed. And then the last place that I usually contour, I normally contour like the sides of my head, a little bit on my forehead, just to sort of slim down anywhere that I need a little bit of slimming down on the face. I have a wide jaw, so I would tend to kind of slim down around the jawline. And then the last place I normally do is on the side of my nose, and I just use the edge of the brush and lightly pass down on either side of the nose. You want to find the slimmest area, which is usually at the bridge, and then you come straight down from there. What I do at this point is I would take I love flat top brushes for powder because I think they apply powder more evenly. And this is my Palladio rice powder. You can use, I love rice powder for setting, simply because it gives you that sort of an airbrush blurry finish to your makeup. And anywhere that you have a cream product, you want to be sure and absolutely set, or else it is going to start smudging and it can move around the face. So I would just go very, very lightly, and using a brush as opposed to a puff when applying your powder, it allows you to apply very little powder, and that is usually what contributes to the cakiness of a face. And you want to make sure you set underneath the eyes in particular, because that's the area that can tend to be very creased and cakey once the concealer settles there. Once the face is set, now you don't want to be overly matte, because most natural skin tends to have a little bit of a sheen to it, so you want to keep it very natural at the same time. And that is generally it. Let me just fix my hair so I don't look crazy. And that is generally it for my foundation routine. Now at this point I would normally go and do my eyes and everything, but this is it for my face, and this is literally what I do if I go out to like an event or something that I really need to be glammed up for. So I hope that you guys found this informative. If you have any questions on any of the products that I've used today, feel free to message me or leave a comment below. Thank you so much for watching.